Last month I looked at a video from Mr. Thrive and Survive, who basically just shared a video done by Dave Marsh where he looks at the moon and how it disproves Kepler's laws. Of course it didn't, but please do take a look if you haven't seen that one yet. The link is in the description. But it occurred to me recently that Mr. Thrive and Survive got off pretty lightly that time, so I thought, why not let's have another look at him. Hello all and welcome to another episode of Tinfoil Tuesday with me, Simon Dan. Yes, Mr. Thrive and Survive posted a video last November entitled NASA Debunks Itself.
This is a 100% bust of NASA's bullcrap. They should play the song and have people run around each other because it's a total freaking joke.
Right, Mr. Thrive and Survive has taken it upon himself to disprove the entirety of celestial mechanics with one video. I'll inform the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences immediately, and I'm sure his Nobel will be put on ice until his video is verified, etc. Come on then, Thrive and Survive, let's be having ya.
Hey everyone, Rich Mr. Thrive and Survive, November 14th, 2018. I am in Denver for the Flat Earth Conference. I apologize for the audio differences. I did not bring my microphone here to the conference, so I'm using the one built into my computer, which isn't that good. So we're going to take a look at this right here. This is a blatant, just total either misunderstanding of science, and this guy does videos all the time claiming that we don't know our science. He left a rather disturbing comment on one of my videos that I just don't understand the moon's motions.
Going on previous videos that I've looked at, I would be inclined to agree with said gentleman. I'd even go as far as to say that you don't know anything about celestial motion.
So let's take a look at this now. This is 2 minutes and 19 seconds I've cut this down to, and you need to understand this 2 minutes and 19 seconds, why they believe the shadow must move from west to east on the Earth. During the 2017 Great American Eclipse, August 21st of 2017, the big controversy was, how can the shadow move from west to east?
Just to confirm, it was not a big controversy. That would require huge differences of opinions amongst large populations. This was just flat earthers being flat earthers. You know, where they misrepresent or not understand something. Happens all the time, Rich.
Well, this guy on here, I don't know who's actually doing this in the video. I don't know if it's the channel person or not. But let's take a look at this explanation, and then we'll come back and look at some comments. And we'll go from there to show that absolutely they cannot either research or want to deny the research.
Sounds very familiar, that does.
Here we go.
Here's the Earth. Yeah. And it is rotating all the time, west to east. We're on the Earth and we rotate around and we see, we're looking at it, this is the North Pole, we're looking straight down. We rotate this way, we see the sun and the moon rise in the east and set in the west because we are moving towards the east, right? We'll make the orange the moon, okay?
Where's the
moon? The thing that people don't get about the moon is it's really far away. I can't even draw it far enough
It's
away.
off the table.
It's really, it's about 1/4 the size of the Earth, and it's 30 Earth diameters away, so it's really off the table. It's really far away.
Nothing wrong with his explanation so far. Let's continue.
Right.
So, this travels once every 24 hours, right? One revolution for 24 hours. The moon goes around the Earth in the same direction every 27 days.
Okay.
So it's moving, you would think, a lot slower because it takes 27 days,
Yeah.
and this takes 24 hours. But as it turns out, because this orbit is so big, it's actually 60 times the diameter of the Earth, that it's actually moving faster. The Earth is moving at about 1,000 miles per hour at the surface, at the equator. That's how fast the surface rotates.
Notice the little speech bubble that Mr. Thrive and Survive popped in there. We know the circumference of the Earth, 24,901 miles. Divide that by 24 hours and you get an approximate speed of 1,038 miles per hour. Easy.
The moon is moving at about 2,000 miles per hour because because it's got such a much bigger trip to go around to make one rotation.
Just to confirm his figures, the Moon's orbit has a circumference of 1,500,000 miles. If we divide that by the 27.3 days it takes to orbit Earth, then you get a speed of approximately 2,290 miles per hour.
Now during the solar eclipse, the sunlight is shining this way from the sun, and the moon just has to move into the sun just a little bit
into the
so that it casts its shadow on the Earth, and then it moves out.
Okay.
And that shadow,
so
the
that's
shadow is moving in this direction
Yeah.
at 2,000 miles per hour, while the Earth's surface is moving at 1,000 miles per hour. So this overtakes it, and that's why it goes west to east. It's moving the same direction, but it's moving faster, and,
Okay.
it makes its shadow on the Earth go across west to east. That's it.
A perfectly reasonable explanation and exactly what happens.
Okay, so we have somebody drawing on a piece of paper. So let's see what NASA actually said about the eclipse and the information they fed to the Washington Post on the August 2017 solar eclipse. See if they say the shadow should go from west to east.
Dear Science, about that eclipse that's happening in August, I heard that the shadow is moving from west to east. But how can that be possible, since the moon moves from east to west?
You know, sometimes you have to point out ridiculous things. Dear Science. Is this Santa Claus? Dear Santa, why is it we live in an age where they're taking billions of dollars daily from us for NASA and other such ridiculous stuff?
It's no more ridiculous than how you lot always ask NASA about everything, including things from before NASA even existed.
And we are reduced to, Dear Science. The shadow's moving from west to east, west to east. And they're going to show why this is the only way it can really go with orbital mechanics.
Hi, I'm Sarah Kaplan and I'll be answering for science today.
Science is more than just a word to describe the process of finding things out. It's a concerted human effort to better understand nature and how it works. We all have the potential to wield science and by extension answer on its behalf. But notice I said potential, not right.
On August 21st, something really exciting is going to happen in the US, a total solar eclipse. This is what happens when the moon passes in front of the sun, and it's going to cast a shadow that travels across the United States.
I think you know full well that that is just a simplified diagram to show how the physical processes occur to make the shadow appear. Take a look at this diagram. The sun emits light in every direction. It doesn't matter how many lines you draw, you won't be able to reach the small area where the eclipse occurs, the shadow. The previous pic only showed 2 rays for simplification.
All the way from the Oregon coast to South Carolina. But wait, the moon rises in the east and sets in the west. Why is the shadow moving from west to east? This is actually a really big question.
Why on God's green earth would an astrophysicist have problems explaining why the shadow moves west to east? Is it maybe because it's BS?
And even astrophysicists sometimes have trouble answering it. Let's see if any of my colleagues can help. We're trying to figure out why is it that the eclipse goes from west to east.
I'm not sure how showing that a bunch of journalists can't answer a question like this proves anything at all.
Now you know it wouldn't be a real presentation from science or NASA unless you got the Sesame Street Disney dumbed down world so that people just have a chuckle instead of really questioning what they're saying. Now this woman here in the middle, she's representing the Earth, like you saw in the diagram earlier in this video, rotating, but then this is representing the moon moving much faster so that they can prove that the eclipse has to go from west to east. Let's peer in and see the stupidity. So I'll place the Earth here and the moon here so you can see the visual representation of what we were seeing from the guy drawing with crayons earlier.
They kind of have it right though. And besides, when we have to show globe deniers this sort of thing, you sort of have to dumb it down.
So let's admit it, guys, all that makes sense, doesn't it? The Earth is moving west to east at 1,000 miles an hour, but since the moon is so much further away, 30 diameters of the Earth away, and because it moves once in 24 hours around, or once every 27 days, I should say, that the speed is actually faster. Let's call it 2-to-1 ratio, just for roughness. So it makes total sense with those orbital mechanics taking place that the moon would go from west to east.
Yeah, it does.
And that would cause that shadow to go from west to east, because orbital mechanics are orbital mechanics. The moon is moving west to east at so many miles per hour, and it beats the Earth. So what can we say about that? Well, the only thing we can say about that is, well, that would make sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. We've done this. I feel like you're about to serve up a massive portion of word salad though.
So, these clips, by the way, that I've been showing you, they're from my video called The Moon is 70 Miles Wide, and then I followed that up with The Moon is 70 Miles Wide Proved.
Oh man, I have to see that one. I'll save that for another day. Dear oh dear.
Which shows, and I'll put a link up here right now, it shows that there's absolutely no way the moon could be wider than 70 miles because that's how wide the shadow is. And a shadow cannot be smaller than the blocking object. And if you don't believe that, go out in the sun, take any object, cast it onto something else, and get that shadow to be smaller than the blocking object. You won't be able to do it. So check that out. That destroys the moon also.
Oh dear. This clip is from another pro flat earth channel, whereby he clearly shows a smaller shadow than the object. That is embarrassing.
So this all makes sense. The moon is going around much faster than the Earth's spin, and so it appears to move west to east. In fact, not just this eclipse, let's look at some other ones. Now here is a look at eclipse data from the past. You can get this on NASA's own website, and NASA even admits that it's a calculated formula used, not orbital mechanics, to come up with eclipses. But that's for another story altogether, for another video, another time. Let's look at these eclipses. Wow, we got some weird eclipses going. But yeah, they're all going west to east, even though they kind of bend.
Does that not tell you, Rich, about what's really going on? A curved eclipse path on a 2D representation. Think about it. I know you can get there, buddy.
Which would get into a difference in the speed of the orbit of the moon, wouldn't it? Because the Earth, it definitely doesn't change. So, whoops, what do we got here in Russia? Let's take a look at that closely, shall we? Okay, ooh, looky what we got here.
I love the tone of his voice, like he thinks he's caught out NASA. Brilliant.
What is this? Over northern Russia, then all the way down into China on September 22nd, 1968. Let's take a look at that even closer. Look at this. Look at this. It moves from here, look at the compass, starts in the east, heads west, then goes south, then turns east.
The problem with this flippant attitude is it sets him up for a massive fall. I'm talking full egg on your face moment here.
So I reached out to NASA and science, and here was the reaction to this eclipse moving east to west.
Possibly one of the worst jokes I've ever seen.
Well, you know what? People will say, well, this is so far north, it's the rays of the sun coming over the top of the Earth.
No, they won't. They'll say, take a look at this eclipse path when it's represented on a globe. Like so. Looks pretty normal to me, and has the east to west movement. What an absolute hash up.
In fact, somebody came and wanted to verify and actually show me this. So let's look at what happens on the equinox date, because that's what it is. Oops, it's the equinox date. Just as a refresher, on the equinox date, the sun's rays do not come over the Earth down to the other side, do they? No, they're all parallel all over the Earth, and we've covered that before in many other videos.
At this point, you're chatting absolute poo here. Take a look at the globe picture again.
So this person, this global person who was very intelligent, wanted to show me this. When we got there to show the actual simulated shadow, and NASA will show you that, he got there and said, let me show you, and then he noticed the date, September 22nd. Oops! Can't happen on the equinox date. He went bye-byes really quickly.
Well, you were obviously conversing with an utter village idiot, weren't you? Mr. Thrive and Survive, what you have shown here is nothing more than a comprehensive misunderstanding about anything to do with celestial mechanics. It is quite clear that there is a chasm in your understanding that is wider than the mouth of the Amazon River. Well, what a fantastic Tinfoil Tuesday. Thrive and Survive thinks that NASA has debunked itself, and it turns out the only thing that's been debunked is him, and by another flat earther no less. Simply superb. Right, that about wraps up this episode. Please do drop a like if you enjoyed it, and even subscribe if the feeling takes you. I have been Simon Dan as ever, and I'll see you all on Friday, where we take the Flat Earth Guru himself head on. See you all then.